So hey everyone, it's Trevor Turnbull here with SportsNetworker.com, and I'm joined via Skype right now by Matt Crevin. How's it going, Matt?
It's going great, Trevor. Nice to be with you today.
Good stuff, good stuff. So Matt is the founder of Voice of the Box, and some of you might actually recognize his face. You might have seen some of his videos. He does some great interviews, some really insightful behind-the-scenes interviews with successful sports business professionals, talking to them about their roles and how they've, paved their path in the industry and helping others do the same thing. So, Matt, I want to talk to you about a few things here today. Number one, I want our audience to get to know who you are better, but also you have a book coming out, and we'll definitely talk about that here in a second too. So let's first of all start out. How did you get into the sports industry? What's your story?
Yeah, no, thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it. Mine is a very interesting story, but also probably similar to a lot of others. I started out literally out of college in 1991 as a unpaid public relations intern within the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. And good luck, good timing, interesting people, personality skills that I brought to the table, and really launched. That was really how I broke in. It was, again, unpaid intern with the 49ers. I couldn't have been any more excited because the Niners were at that point 2 years removed from a Super Bowl championship.
That's right.
It was still a who's who of the NFL roster on that squad. To be put into that scenario and to be able to work with the players as a community relations specialist and working with media relations on game day and everything in between was absolutely fascinating. I was literally, and this is cliche, I was living the dream right out of college. So that was my break-in. And it was something that I'll never forget. My first year with the Niners was Joe Montana's last year with the Niners. And I just came back from a speaking tour, and I was just telling the audience, I said, you know what? I would have never thought as a seventh grader in 1981, sitting on my parents' couch in a small town outside of San Francisco, watching Montana Magic evolve, that a quick, 9 years later, I would be in the same locker room with him. So you never know what's going to happen. But that's how I broke in, was with the NFL in the public relations capacity. And just started shaking hands and meeting people not only in the NFL but in other areas of sports. Everyone was converging in the Niners at that time, so media, sports apparel, sports nutrition and science. I started making these connections, and at that point, gathering business cards and kind of building at that point, pre-LinkedIn, was gathering my connections. So that's how it all started for me.
Nice. So it really has been, as you say, a dream job to be working in the sports industry and a passion of yours. And how has that evolved over time here now? I know, like you mentioned, this is pre-LinkedIn those days, right?
Yeah, it gives me a little gut check to say that, but it's true. I mean, the internet, Al Gore had not invented the internet yet, so
there you go.
I was going out and really, again, making those handshakes and gathering cards. And then I worked there for full time for a year, which was fantastic. I was actually getting paid for what I wanted to do. And then how it evolved, to answer your question, Trevor, was literally in 1993, they came to me, and the Niners did, and said, good news, bad news. Good news is you've done a great job with us. You're gaining good traction. You're working well with everyone. Unfortunately, the boss's daughter is coming in, and there's going to be a couple of headcount that are being removed. Unfortunately, you're one of them. However, we want to keep you as part of our game day staff. And I said, fantastic.
Right.
Great. I was kind of in a catch-22. As the boss's daughter. I mean, it's the old scenario. But there I was old mail, literally old school, mailing out resumes, cover letters, coast to coast. I had recommendations from the team president to my boss, everyone in between. Nothing popped. And I was at a point where I didn't have the resource to extend my career search at that point, just based on my age. I just didn't have the wallet, if you will.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I learned how to go through a successful career search. Now, keep that in mind, because that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Right.
So when I went through that first career search process, I learned a lot about, how to position yourself as an individual and as a brand, if you will. And it really taught me a lot of lessons at a very young age. And so again, the Niners offered me to stay on part-time, which was great. So my hand or my feet were still involved in the NFL. And I'm proud to say I've been with the 49ers now for 19 years. Now, I've also had another career because I had to go and launch my own career, and I got into corporate relations. I got into sales, business development. And I've been really lucky to represent such companies and work with such companies as Microsoft and FedEx over the past 19 years, which has been wonderful for me, not for the sake, hey, I've worked at these companies, but what it's taught me, who I've met, what I've learned from them along the way. And about 3 years ago, my two careers kind of intersected. I know this is a really long answer, but it gives kind of a backdrop of kind of how I got started and how I continue to follow my passion. About 3 years ago, I asked for permission from the 49ers. Hey, I want to bring my handy cam, and I want to bring it to the sidelines, and I want to start interviewing people that have jobs like me, kind of behind the scenes in the NFL. And they said, go ahead, stay out of the way. I said, okay, I'll do that. So I started interviewing radio and TV announcers, radio and TV producers, the chain gang, the ball boys, the equipment crew, the grounds crew, everyone that kind of had behind the curtain roles in the NFL, started asking them, how did you get your job? What does it take to be good at your job? And then a series of light bulbs went off. And to short story this for you, I said, I need to replicate this model outside of all the connections I've made, not just football. The 4 major sports, of course, but then amateur sports, university level sports, and then all the private enterprise that's out there. Sports marketing, sports apparel, sports nutrition and science, on and on and on.
Right.
And everywhere I was traveling with my corporate job, I was getting interviews and bringing content, made a website, free website, Voice of the Box. That's kind of how it started. And then the last light bulb went off, and I was getting more and more feedback, and people said, hey, listen, I love that interview that you did with that woman for Gatorade. I want to do something like that. How can you help me? Mm-hmm. And I said, wow, someone's asking me for help. I thought about it, and I resigned my role from FedEx right then and there on the spot, built my coaching model out. I said, this is the perfect marriage. I know there's no such thing, but this is the perfect marriage. This is now I've got the qualifications. I've got 18 years of real world, relevant, fresh, and unique ideas and content. And I can match that with my 19 years of sports industry connections, experience, and knowledge. And I can become a career coach and help the next generation how to put a plan in place that can help them break in. And that was a long answer, but that's how Voice of the Box started.
No, it's great. It's very complete, though. As you mentioned, you have the real world experience of actually having gone through and done all of these roles with the San Francisco 49ers, but then, you've also kind of taken a page out of our book in the same way that we produce our content in going out and interviewing people that have done a number of different roles and really learning from them, right? So instead of trying to assume what it's like to be a ticket sales manager for a sports team, you go out and you talk to somebody about it, right? So it really helps establish that credibility and expertise in a certain area. So with Voice of the Box then, and this is slowly evolving towards the point where I wanted to talk to you about the book, because you have all this experience and you've done all these interviews. So tell us about this book and what the inspiration was behind it. You kind of already alluded to that, but how did the whole thing kind of evolve? Did you write it over the last 5 years, or is this something you just put together in the last few months?
Yeah, no, great question, Trevor. And it was a little germ of an idea, and it got shelved. But really, the more I kept going out, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I do a lot of guest lectures on university campuses across the U.S. Tremendous amount of fun, and I deliver a lot of content to these students. And it just made sense from all the people that I've met in the sports industry, and matching that with, again, the corporate knowledge that I have on how to successfully launch a career search, because it is a very detailed process, but it can be really managed in a very simplified 4-step way. And I said, you know what? I want to document this. And so that was the idea. And as much as I was traveling at that point, I was bringing my laptop and I was hammering away on these flights, wrote the outline. I literally started this about 18 months ago. So it wasn't 5 years ago per your thought, although it probably seems like it in my brain. But it's been a whirlwind 18 months. But I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it the right way and not just haphazardly put a book out just for the sake of putting a book out. So this book is just my way. I know this sounds all high and mighty, but it's a way of giving back, but it's a way of sharing the knowledge that I wish that I had when I was in these kids, meaning the college students of today, when I was in their spot.
Right.
Now they've got someone like me. I'm not the only resource for people. I'm a very good resource for people, but I'm not the only one. So I really help, and I work with career services. I work with faculty directly. And this book was a culmination of bringing everything together and putting it out there for the next generation of sports industry hopefuls. And you know what? My thought was going into this, if someone can take one idea out of my book, that to me is success. So hopefully more than one good idea, but if they can take at least one, that was the idea behind the book. And Get in the Game is now out. It's getting ready, and we're really close to having it launched. So it's pretty exciting.
Nice. Well, and as we were discussing before we hopped on this call, it's our one of our mandates to try and provide the best content possible to help out our audience. And after seeing all the videos that you've done, and many of them that we've actually posted on our site, I have no doubt it's going to be great content. I'm looking forward to reading this book. And for everybody that's watching this video, stay tuned because we'll definitely let you know about how you can get a copy of this book. We might even run some contests. We might even have a portion of time where this book's available for free. So stay tuned on that. Take a look on the page somewhere here. You might see something that alludes to that fact. Matt, so let me leave it with this here. If you were to give, there's obviously a lot of tips in your book and numerous things that we could talk about for hours here, but if you were to pull out one nugget, one piece of advice that you would give people that might be that, spark that starts them down the path, what would you say that one tip would be?
Wow, Trevor, can you give me any more of a loaded question? But that's a legitimate question.
Maybe don't give me the best one. Let's save the best ones for the book. Let people read the book. But let's just talk about one tip that you would give.
Yeah, no, I'm just teasing. It's a legitimate question, but you're right. There are so many tips, and it's a matter of what works within everyone's personal, DNA, if you will, not to make it scientific. But and to that tone, at the sports industry, with all due respect to those that do work in science labs, this is not, splitting atoms here. The sports industry is a people business. I've been in it for 19 years. That is a skill. Being authentic, you hear that phrase, but being yourself, and I see so many people trying too hard during an informational interview process or a traditional interview process to be so scripted and so rehearsed and so robotic that they're losing sight of, well, what's the question that this person's really asking me? Mm-hmm. Be yourself, relax, take a big deep breath. Don't think so hard about what's the absolutely perfect answer to this question. Answer the question from your gut, even if you don't think it's going to hit. They'll see that you're real. That's what people want. People want to be around people that are authentic and real. And the other thing I can, kind of leave with, if you will, and there's a lot more obviously in the book, as you mentioned, but communication. And I go into detail about easy and simplified ways to communicate with people. We live in such a technical space right now that everyone's kind of hiding behind their keyboard. But you know what? You got to be solid when you're face to face. And I go into detail about, hey, just 4 simple steps of some kind of guidelines and rules to go by, because the art of communication is a lost art. And that will be the last thing that I kind of will share with you now, a little bit of a nugget, if you will. But what are some 4 easy steps to keep in mind as you go out and meet people, get informational meetings or traditional interviews to kind of have in mind? So the 4 C's of communication is another little thing that I get into.
Nice. So that's something to look forward to, everybody, if you go and check out this book. Part of the challenge in landing that job is getting your foot in the door. But then once you do, what are you actually going to say? How are you going to present yourself? So
that's the key. That's the key.
There you go. So I'm really looking forward to this, Matt. We'll obviously be keeping in touch here and talk about how we can help you with the launch and get this book into the hands of our audience as well. In the meantime, let people know how they can connect with you online. So LinkedIn, Twitter, that type of thing.
Yep, I'll list it all out. First of all, the website is the best spot because all of my connections are there in terms of Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So the website, one more time, it's all one word, but I'll say it slowly. It's Voice of the Box. And just out of curiosity, just so you know, maybe some people are saying, well, what is Voice of the Box? What's that all about?
Yeah.
It's kind of a little play on words. The last 13 of the 19 years that I've been associated with the 49ers, I do the public address announcing. So I'm just kind of a faceless, nameless guy, but I'm up in the press box. I'm the voice, hence Voice of the Box. Kind of a little cheeky name. Yeah. If you go to voiceofthebox.co, that's not a misspelling and I'm not mispronouncing it, voiceofthebox.co.
Okay.
You'll get to my website. You can follow me on Twitter. My Facebook page is there. LinkedIn is there. Everything is there. So I think that's the best place to go to get all my information and connect with me. I've got a tab on the page about the book. I've got a tab on the page about my radio program. Everything is there, voiceofthebox.com.
Perfect. Well, we'll link all of that up so that you can all, so that everybody watching this video can find Matt and follow him easily. So, Matt, thanks very much for doing this. And as I say, we'll be in touch here. We'll look for ways that we can help you get this into the hands of our audience. And, best of luck as this book launches. I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, appreciate it, Trevor. It's been great talking with you. Appreciate the help.
All right. Thanks a lot.